Hi guys, welcome back to Origami Twist. My name's Jen, and today is the last day of the Daily December Challenge. Now I know that it's the 26th of December, it's only Boxing Day, we're not at the end of December yet. However, I have done 31 videos in a row, and I started on the 26th of November because someone asked me to actually put them up a little early so they had more time to work on them before Christmas. So this is the last day of Daily December, and you're welcome to go and check back through all of them if you'd like to. Most of them are Christmas themed, but not all of them. There are quite a few that would work, even going into Valentine's Day. And today we are focusing on thank you notes, or in this case, the sizes of the thank you notes. Because it is right after Christmas, we're going to be writing a lot of notes, and we may want to create some cards. Okay, here we go. I'm going to quickly run through all of the finished card sizes as well as the size cardboard you'll need to pull out, and then we'll put in how many fit on a 12 by 12, how many fit on an 8.5 by 11, and how many fit on an A4 sheet of paper. Now A4 is the size we use here in Australia for paper and cardstock. 8.5 by 11 is the size that you'll use in the United States. Okay, here we go. Here's the first one. For cards that are 3 inches by 3 inches, you'll need a 3 by 6 inch piece of cardstock. And you'll be able to fit 3 cards on an A4, 3 on an 8.5 by 11, and 8 on a 12 by 12. The next finished size is 3 by 3.5 by 4.75. Again, matting sizes will be down below, will be linked down below. And the actual dimensions of the cardstock will be 4.75 inches by 7 inches. You'll be able to fit 2 onto an A4 slice of paper and 2 onto an 8.5 by 11. Now you can get 4 out of a 12 by 12. Now I've drawn a little picture of how you want to arrange those on your 12 by 12. You'll notice that you can't cut straight through with your paper trimmer, so just be careful when you measure it out in order to get the 4 by 4 into one sheet of paper. But it can be done. This next one is a pretty standard one if you do Stampin' Up! In the States or use 8.5 by 11 paper. It is the 4.25 by 5.5 inches. The tricky part about this size is that if you have 8.5 by 11 paper, you can fit 2 because you're literally cutting the 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper right down the middle. Unfortunately, with A4 paper, it's actually thinner, and therefore if you line it up, the edge of your card is going to come just off the side. So if you do want to cut an A4 in half, it's going to be slightly smaller than these standard sizes. And so 1 on an A4, unless you make a slightly smaller finished size, 2 on 8.5 by 11, and you can fit 2 of these onto a 12 by 12. So if, again, with this slightly smaller size, if you're doing a lot of these, you may want to go down to a slightly smaller size because you can fit 4 of these onto a 12 by 12. It may make the finished product less expensive because there won't be as much paper wasted. And the paper, the 12 by 12 paper, to be able to get 4 out of one slice of 12 by 12 paper may be cheaper for you. Okay, this next one is 4.75 inches by 6.5 inches. It's a nice substantial card, but you're going to find you're going to get a lot of excess pieces, a lot of scrap material with this one. So if you're doing a design on the front with strips of paper, this is actually a great size to do because you'll have extra pieces that you can use on your card. So your actual cardstock needs to be 6.5 by 9.5 inches. And 1 will fit on an A4, 1 will fit on an 8.5 by 11, and 1 will fit on a 12 by 12. So essentially what you want here is decide which one you're going to use based on how much excess paper you want in your scrap. The next size is even more generous, and this reminds me a little bit of something you might find at a Hallmark store, like Hallmark card size. It is 5.25 by 7.25, and again, if you're doing a big decoration on the front, this is a good size to use. And 7.25 by 10.5 is the size of the finished page. One will fit on an A4, one will fit on an 8.5 by 11, and one will fit on a 12 by 12. Again, just choose based on how much scrap you want it left over at the end. This one is another classic with your Stampin' Up! People. It is slightly bigger than your average Hallmark card, but still a decent card size. Great if you've got kids needing to write really big names on it, that sort of thing. Be great for a Mother's Day or a Father's Day card, or a really fancy Christmas card. The dimensions of the card front on this one are 5.5 by 8.5. And as always, the matting sizes will be on my blog. And the actual dimensions of the cardstock to make the card are 8.5 by 11. So you can see down here, one will fit on an 8.5 by 11, but because the A4 is slimmer and longer than an 8.5 by 11, 0 cards will fit on an A4. So you can get around that by either folding your A4 in half and just dealing with a slightly different size, but still quite substantial. Or you can cut it down from a 12 by 12 and have a little bit of scrap. Because yes, one card will fit on a 12 by 12. This last one's quite interesting. It follows the Instagram trend, so it's actually a square, and it's 6 inches by 6 inches. And while it seems small, because, for example, compared to this one, it's a lot shorter, it will not actually fit on an A4 or an 8.5 by 11, and that's because it's 6 inches square. So when you double that second number to get the amount of cardstock that you're going to need for the card, it actually ends up being 6 inches by 12 inches, which means that 2 of them will fit on a 12 by 12. And it's a great size card to make because it's substantial, but you can fit 2 on a 12 by 12. Whereas with the 5.5 by 8.5, for example, only 1 would fit on a 12 by 12. So it's very versatile like that. However, you can't actually get them to fit on the 8.5 by 11 or the A4.